Today, I want to talk about narcissistic enablers, aka flying monkeys. Okay. This is a very important topic, in my opinion, because dealing with a narcissist is hard enough without their quacking ducks. Okay. So, what do I mean by this? I mean, when you're at a stage in your healing journey where you're setting boundaries with a narcissist or you're not engaging with them, you're doing whatever you need to do to protect yourself, to protect your peace, to protect your sanity, you will absolutely probably face the quacking ducks coming out of the woodworks saying how, oh, you just need to forgive and forget, and it's not that big a deal, and you know they're under a lot of pressure right now. They'll make excuses for the narcissist. They will go to bat for them. They will defend them. They'll, try to pressure you into setting down your boundaries, abandoning what you feel is right for you, and kowtowing to the narcissist's will. Because that is the role of a flying monkey. Their role is to basically do the narcissist's bidding for them. Flying monkeys do not have a strong sense of self. They don't have a good identity, right? So that's why they're flying on the backs of the narcissist. That's why they're doing the narcissist's bidding. They don't have a good sense of right or wrong or boundaries or what they want or what they won't accept. They don't have that. So then they just cling on to the narcissist and allow them to kind of lead the way, and they're kind of like their flunky, Flying monkeys can put a very big dent in our healing journey if we're not aware of them, because we're already, when we're setting boundaries with a narcissist, being gaslit by the narcissist, right? Made to feel like we're overreacting, we're crazy, we're bad, we're mean, whatever. So we're facing that gaslighting from the narcissist. And then when you have the flying monkeys coming out of the woodworks doing their bidding as well, you really start to question yourself, right? That's when it becomes extreme gaslighting, because it's not just from one person, it's now from them and all of their minions. So it's natural to kind of like stop for a second and start questioning yourself, like, man, maybe I am doing the wrong thing, or I'm being unreasonable, or you start questioning yourself. You got to spot them for what they are. If you have already identified that the narcissistic person lacks morality, they lack accountability, they lack empathy, they're entitled. You've already established these things, and then you have the flying monkeys coming out of the woodworks trying to guilt you into dropping your boundaries. Just know that these flying monkeys do not have a sense of self. They don't see what you're seeing. So when this happens, it's so vital to ground ourselves in reality. Write it down. Write down your experiences. Write down your feelings. Write down everything so that when you're starting to be gaslit and questioning yourself, you can go back and refer to the reality that happened. Because that's what gaslighting does. It gets us to question reality as we know it. It gets us to second guess ourselves. And when you're being gaslit and abused by a narcissist for so long, naturally, you don't have a lot of trust in yourself because you're constantly being made to question reality. So then when the flying monkeys come along, that just reinforces that lack of trust that we might have. So part of healing is really reestablishing that trust that we have in ourselves and in our intuition. We're born with an intuition, with an authentic self that was muddied by the experiences that we went through in childhood and the experiences that we go through with abusive people. So part of the healing journey and protecting ourselves from narcissistic people is reconnecting to that part of ourselves again. That part of ourselves that's meant to feel like we're unworthy, or we can't trust ourselves, or we don't know what we're talking about. Not true. Not true. That feeling that you get inside of unease, that feeling of anxiety and distress, and all of the stuff you experience when you're being abused by the narcissist are real feelings that are trying to tell you something. And just because the narcissist and their minions don't see that, that's not your problem. You see it. And you seeing it is all that matters at the end of the day, is that you are grounded in reality and grounded in truth. We don't have control over what other people think or say, but we do have control over the reality that we know is true, and protecting that reality from gaslighters and manipulators. The whole strategy for the narcissist and their flying monkeys is to play on your guilt, to manipulate you into dropping your boundaries. And that's why you'll start to question yourself, because if you have a lot of empathy, you are going to feel bad, especially hearing all of the things that the flying monkey is saying to try to guilt you and manipulate you into dropping your boundaries. So it becomes vital to be aware that you have a lot of empathy and to differentiate what's right, what's true, what's reality from your empathy. Because a lot of the time what happens with us empaths is we get driven by our empathy and we forget the truth. We forget what happened. We forget our needs, our pains, what we've been through. We put all that to the side and we let our empathy for the narcissist kind of take over. But remember, the narcissist doesn't have any empathy for you, right? So that's why it's so vital for us to stick to what is good for us. Our needs matter too. It's not all about them all the time, even though the flying monkeys are trying to convince you otherwise. It can be very hard to resist the pressures of the flying monkeys because a narcissistic person is celebrated in our society, right? Especially if they're the grandiose type. They're very powerful, right? Powerful and arrogant, and they just come off very, domineering and abrasive, and people are afraid of them. And so weak personalities tend to flock to this kind of like arrogance. They don't see it for what it is, which is a very maladaptive, unacceptable style of behavior, right? They view it as like, yeah, well, they are the ones in control. They are the powerful ones, right? So we're just going to submit ourselves to them. You're choosing another pathway. If you're an empath and you have a lot of attunement to your own emotions and to the emotions of other people, you are going to notice things and pick up on things that other people don't pick up on. That's very common. If you have heightened emotional awareness and sensitivity, you are going to see the narcissist's behavior for what it is, whereas someone who doesn't have that level of emotional attunement and awareness might not. And that's usually the flying monkeys, right? So it's not our job to defend ourselves or explain our decision to anybody. You really don't have to explain yourself to a flying monkey. If they're willing to listen, sure, you can have that conversation. But if they're hell-bent on your being unreasonable, just forget, just talk to the narcissist, just do this, just do that, just drop your boundaries. You don't really have to engage in that. And I know it's hard when we're getting pressured in that way to like stand in reality, when your reality is just being, nuked from all different directions. It's hard. It's hard. But building that confidence in your reality and seeing things for what they are, learning to trust yourself and your judgment and your intuition, reconnecting to the authentic part of yourself that was destroyed by the narcissist. All of that becomes so vital in standing our ground with the narcissist and with their flying monkeys. It's bad enough that we have to kind of deal with a narcissistic person, and it's just made worse by their flying monkeys. I think that flying monkeys can be just as bad as a narcissist when they're doing their bidding, right? Because not only do we now have to like protect our sanity and our peace from the narcissist, but we're like fighting these other mini battles with their minions. So it's not an easy thing to do. It's not easy. And just know that it's very common to be put in this kind of position. It's very common that the narcissist draws close to them people who don't have strong personalities, who are easily manipulated, easily swayed, so that they can do the narcissist's bidding for them. That's the type of person a narcissist wants around them, right? A submitter, someone who does not question them, someone who just goes with their authority, blindly and doesn't have any of their own opinions or thoughts or beliefs. And this is kind of like the same thing that happens with cult members, right? Like the leader of the cult is the narcissist and they're just lying, gaslighting, manipulating all day. And they have their little cult leaders or their cult members who don't question, who don't, just bow down, do what the cult leader wants, do their bidding, defend them. This is the same thing with a run-of-the-mill narcissist and their minions. It's like a cult and they have little cult members. The same concept. Thank you so much for watching this video, and thank you for allowing me to be on this healing journey with you. If you're looking for additional support for healing from a narcissistic relationship, you can find my website link down in the description box below. Let me know if you have any questions about what we discussed in this video, or you have any comments. I'd love to hear your experiences with flying monkeys, and I will see you in the next one.